Have you ever looked at your life and wondered, whose story am I living? The expectations you carry, the roles you play, the decisions you keep justifying, are they truly yours? Or were they quietly handed to you by others, like invisible contracts signed in silence? We are taught to be kind, to be generous, to be the one who keeps the family together, who sacrifices, who never says no. But somewhere along the way, many of us, especially as we grow older, begin to feel the quiet toll of that unspoken agreement. Our peace traded for obligation, our authenticity eroded by other people's comfort, and our life rewritten by the needs of others. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But here's the truth most people won't say out loud. You cannot become yourself while being edited by everyone else. And yet, there will always be people who expect that of you. People who ask not just for your time, but your essence. Not just for support, but submission. Not just for love, but for silence. They will ask you to carry their chaos, to mediate their wars, to lend your energy where theirs has failed. They will ask you to stop being who you are, softly, sweetly, with words like, "Just do it for me." But here's what they're not telling you. These are not innocent requests. They are invasions disguised as love. And if you keep saying yes, you will one day look in the mirror and realize you no longer recognize the person staring back. So today's message is not just a reminder, it's a wake-up call. In this video, we're going to explore 5 kinds of requests that no one, no matter how close, how familiar, or how beloved, has the right to make of you. Not if your peace matters, not if your soul matters, not if you want to live the years ahead as you, rather than a version shaped by everyone else's demands. This isn't about turning your back on others. It's about turning your face toward yourself for once, fully, clearly. And trust me, when you begin to reclaim your emotional space, your energy, your truth, you don't become selfish, you become sovereign. And in that sovereignty, something remarkable happens. You stop needing to be chosen, because you finally choose you. Let's begin. Request number 1, carrying burdens that aren't yours. There is a certain kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work, age, or even illness. It comes from carrying stories that don't belong to you. And perhaps you know that weight, when someone turns to you not just for support, but for salvation. They come to you with their broken relationships, their failed decisions, their self-created fires, and say, "You're strong, you'll figure it out for me." They don't ask if you're available. They assume you should be, because you've always been. And in the name of love, of duty, of being the bigger person, you say yes. But here's the truth Jung would whisper to you if he were sitting beside you. Caring does not mean carrying. You can care deeply and still say no. You can offer empathy without becoming the stretcher they lie on. You can listen without sacrificing your peace. When you make someone else's burden your own, it doesn't dissolve. It just grows heavier and more dangerous. Why? Because it starts to redefine you. You become the fixer, the glue, the emotional lifeline. You are no longer allowed to be tired, confused, or flawed. You exist only in relation to their crisis. And worst of all, they begin to expect it. The first favor becomes an unspoken contract. The second turns into entitlement. And by the third, they are offended if you hesitate. But look closer. Have they ever truly asked what you need? Do they check if you are okay? Or are you always the one absorbing their chaos while pretending you're fine? Jung reminds us, when we constantly rescue others from their consequences, we rob them of the opportunity to grow. We interfere with their individuation, the sacred process of becoming whole through their own choices and lessons. In trying to save them, we sometimes prevent their transformation. And in doing so, we sacrifice our own. So if someone expects you to carry their emotional weight, their conflicts, their regrets, ask yourself, is this truly mine to hold? And if not, let it down gently. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. You were not put on this earth to be anyone's emotional mule. You are not a backup plan, not a therapist on call, not the container for other people's unfinished stories. You are allowed to walk away from what drains you. You are allowed to put down what was never yours to carry. This isn't abandonment, it's alignment with your truth, your boundaries, your life. And that, Jung would say, is not selfish. It's the beginning of your freedom. Request number 2. Lending money without urgency. There's a peculiar kind of silence that falls after someone close to you says, "I need your help." Not help with understanding, not help with presence. Help in the form of money. And before you even ask why, there's a pressure, a familiar emotional undertow that whispers, "If you love me, you will." But Carl Jung would have asked you this instead. Whose consequences are you paying for? Because often, it's not about the money. It's about the patterns behind it. It's about the quiet expectation that your love equals rescue, that your closeness equals obligation. What starts as a heartfelt request soon becomes something far more insidious. A subtle manipulation that plays on guilt, history, and unspoken roles. You're the reliable one, the solid one, the one who always shows up. So when you hesitate, you become the problem. They say you've changed. They question your love. They remind you of what you owe them. But let's speak plainly. If someone's affection for you has a price tag, is it really affection at all? Jung spoke often about the masks people wear, not just the ones we wear for society, but the masks others craft to hide their own lack of self-responsibility, and money is one of the oldest mirrors. When someone asks you to give, not out of shared vision, not out of urgent need, but because they cannot face the cost of their own choices, they are not asking for support. They are asking for escape, and they want you to fund it. Worse, they want you to feel bad if you don't. But here's what no one says aloud. Every dollar you give out of guilt is a dollar stolen from your own peace, from the stability you've built, from the rest you've earned, from the future you still deserve to live without anxiety. You spent decades trading comfort for responsibility. You made sacrifices they never saw. You've earned your quiet, your cushion, your calm. No is not a rejection. It's a boundary. It's a sacred line that says, "I love you, but I will not enable you. I support your growth, not your avoidance." And if someone turns cold because you didn't give them what they wanted, then maybe they never saw you. Maybe they only saw what you could give. Remember this, you are not a bank. You are not a bailout. You are a whole person whose peace is priceless. And sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone face the very discomfort that will finally teach them to grow. Request number 3, mediating in family conflicts. It begins innocently enough. A phone call, a sigh, a whispered plea. "Mom, can you please talk to him?" "Dad," she listens to you. "Just fix it." And suddenly, you're standing in the middle of a battlefield you never agreed to fight in. You didn't cause the war. You didn't throw the first stone. But somehow, you're being asked to wave the white flag on behalf of everyone else. Carl Jung taught us that every person must face the consequences of their own psyche, their own choices. And yet, in many families, there's one person expected to shoulder the emotional labor for everyone else. The emotional referee, the fixer, the peacemaker. But let me ask you this. How many times has your effort to help only left you burned? How many times have you stepped in only to be blamed by both sides when things didn't magically heal? Because here's the brutal truth. Some conflicts are not meant to be resolved by you. They are meant to teach the people in them responsibility, empathy, boundaries. When you interrupt that process, even with the kindest intention, you rob them of the growth that comes from facing themselves. And worse, you offer yourself as the punching bag in the process. Jung might have said, "What you do not bring to consciousness, you will live out as fate." And many family dynamics are fated patterns, looping again and again because no one dares to confront the root. So instead, they drag you in, because you've always been the strong one, the calm one, the one who doesn't scream or slam doors. But peacekeeping is not peace. It's often self-erasure dressed up as nobility, and the cost is heavy. Your emotional bandwidth is sacred. It is not a shared utility for your relatives to tap into whenever their egos clash. You are not the United Nations. You are a human being who deserves peace in your own home, not to be the sacrificial lamb for someone else's emotional avoidance. And when you say no, when you step back, not out of apathy, but out of wisdom, you may be met with resistance. They may call you cold. They may accuse you of abandoning the family. But what they're really upset about is losing their emotional crutch. You are not here to rescue people from the very lessons life is trying to teach them. You are not required to glue broken pieces that refuse to be held together. You are not responsible for keeping everyone happy at the cost of your sanity. Let them feel the weight of their choices. Let them sit in discomfort long enough to change. You stepping out may be the very spark that wakes them up. So the next time you're asked to step into the ring, ask yourself, is this truly my battle? If the answer is no, step back, breathe, protect your peace. Because peace is not created through conflict mediation. Peace is created when you choose not to let chaos rent space in your soul. Request number 4, changing who you are to please others. It begins with a simple comment. Why do you still dress like that? You're too old to be listening to that kind of music. You should really act more your age. Harmless, right? Just opinions, just suggestions. But if you look closely, beneath those words is a quiet violence, a request to stop being who you are. Carl Jung believed that the greatest privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So imagine the tragedy when someone, often someone close, asks you to abandon that hard-earned selfhood just to fit their mold of comfort. They're not asking you to grow, they're asking you to shrink. Every story you've lived through, every loss, every triumph, every quiet evening alone that taught you how to be at peace in your own skin, has shaped who you are today. And now someone dares to call it too much, too different, too inconvenient. This isn't about being difficult, it's about being real. Because once you start shaving off pieces of yourself to make others comfortable, it never ends. First, it's your clothes, then your voice, then your dreams. And one day, you look in the mirror and see a stranger with your face. The worst part, they won't even notice the cost. They'll be pleased that you fit their world. But you'll be grieving the world you gave up, your own. Jung taught us that repression of the self breeds shadow. And every time you silence a part of your identity, you're feeding that shadow. Until one day, it explodes through resentment, depression, or quiet despair. Authenticity isn't rebellion, it's responsibility. You owe it to the child you once were, the one who dared to dream, to dance, to believe, to live truthfully. You owe it to the older version of you, the one you're still becoming, to not dilute your soul just to be palatable. So when someone asks you to edit yourself to fit their image, ask yourself, do I want to be accepted as a version of me or as the truth of me? Because anyone who asks you to betray your truth for their ease isn't loving you, they're managing you. Love doesn't ask for masks, it invites the whole face. Love doesn't say change, it says come as you are. And if they cannot love you as you are, your quirks, your voice, your essence, let them walk. Because anyone who asks you to stop being yourself is not trying to grow with you, they're trying to control you. And the only person who has the right to shape your life is you. So wear what you want. Say what you believe. Live how your spirit feels most alive. You've spent too long becoming this version of you. Don't give it away for someone who hasn't done the work to accept it. Request number 5, prioritizing their emotions over your own. There is a form of control so subtle, it often masquerades as love. It doesn't scream, do as I say. It whispers softly, if you really loved me, you wouldn't do that. If you truly cared, you'd sacrifice this for me. At first glance, it feels like tenderness, emotional connection. But look deeper, and you'll see the truth. This isn't love, it's manipulation. Carl Jung once said, The most insidious oppression is when someone makes us doubt our own feelings. And one of the most common ways they do this is by making you feel guilty for being yourself. You're happy. They're uncomfortable. You follow your intuition. They resist. You laugh freely, live boldly. They frown and call it inappropriate. So you begin to shrink, not because you're wrong, but because your truth makes them uneasy. You quiet your joy. You put your dreams on pause. You slowly sacrifice pieces of yourself to keep the peace, a peace that's really just their comfort in disguise. Sound familiar? This is not empathy. This is someone loving only the version of you that is convenient, while rejecting the fullness of who you really are. And the most dangerous part? You begin to believe that this is love. You start telling yourself, maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe I should just give in a little. But every time you abandon your own emotional truth to soothe someone else, you send yourself a dangerous message. My needs don't matter. Jung called this a fragmentation of the soul. The longer you live outside your own emotional center, the more you wake up feeling empty, heavy, confused, wondering why you feel so lost, even when everything seems fine. Here's the truth. Peace does not come from erasing yourself. Peace is born from alignment, from honoring your own emotional reality, even when others don't understand it. Real love does not shrink you, it expands you, not through constant sacrifice, but through mutual respect. You are allowed to say, I hear you, but I have feelings too. You are allowed to choose joy without permission, to feel your sadness, anger, silence, without justifying it to make someone else comfortable. Love does not require you to dim your light so someone else doesn't squint. It invites both people to show up fully, raw, real, unapologetic. So if someone insists that you have to shrink to make them feel safe, remember, you were not born to live a life that fits inside someone else's comfort zone. You were born to live your life fully, brightly, and on your own terms. Here's the truth that cuts through the noise. You were never meant to live your life in service to someone else's comfort. Yes, kindness matters. Compassion matters. But not when it comes at the expense of your soul. Carl Jung taught us that every time you say yes to something that violates your inner truth, you are not being kind, you are being complicit in your own disappearance. And that's the real tragedy. You become so good at making others feel safe that you forget how to feel safe within yourself. So let's take a step back and ask the question, what have you been saying yes to when your body whispered no? Was it the emotional weight someone placed on your shoulders that wasn't yours to carry? Was it lending money when it drained not only your wallet, but your peace? Was it stepping into family drama that tore at your spirit just to keep the peace? Was it changing who you are to earn someone's temporary approval? Or was it silencing your own feelings just so someone else didn't have to face theirs? These patterns don't just steal your time or energy. They steal your center. They steal your clarity. And most of all, they erode your sense of self-trust. But the beauty of awareness is that it gives you your power back. You begin to see clearly what once felt confusing. You begin to name the guilt that used to control you. And from there, you begin to choose differently. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This isn't about blame, it's about responsibility, the sacred kind, the kind that says, I am no longer willing to live in quiet resentment just to be liked. So here's your invitation. Start honoring the boundary your soul has been whispering all along. The no you were afraid to speak. The truth you kept buried to keep the family together. The version of you that's tired of shrinking just to fit in. That version of you is sacred. And when you finally say, I choose peace over guilt. I choose truth over people-pleasing. I choose myself. Everything changes. The relationships that were built on control begin to fall away. The people who never saw you begin to fade. And in their place, something better rises. Authentic connection, honest joy, freedom. Because peace is not a luxury. It is the foundation of a life lived awake. And the moment you protect it, you begin to walk as the person you were always meant to be. Whole, clear, unapologetically free. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, if you felt seen, understood, or awakened, don't walk this journey alone. Subscribe to the channel for more Carl Jung-inspired insights on self-awareness, boundaries, and emotional freedom. And if you know someone who's been carrying too much for too long, share this video with them. It might be the permission they've been waiting for. Because the moment we begin to honor ourselves, we give others permission to do the same. Protect your peace. You've earned it.